What's going on, everybody?
Look who's here. It's everybody.
We're back.
Yes, we're back. How's it going, Pat?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Yeah, I just swung by for a little R&R.
Yeah.
Little Reverent and Rebellious.
That's right.
You're going on real R&R tomorrow.
That's exactly right. Yes. Well, not really.
No, you're going to be on granddad duty.
It's going to be complete chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the youngest?
3.
Oh,
3.
no.
Yeah, the oldest is 7, and there's 4 of them.
Whoa, man. Yeah, you are going to have fun.
4
now,
boys.
3, they're all out of diapers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I guess you can't assume too much these days, but I think they are.
So you won't be changing diapers?
No.
Yeah, I've retired from that job.
Yeah, that's not a good. I mean, it's good for a while, but
man, that was changing diapers. That, my wife loves babies. Like, she's a baby person.
Oh yeah, mine too. Wow.
And like our kids now at 6. Now they're getting more my speed. Like they can go and do things. They can wipe their own butt. It's a good time.
I thought I was getting by, this week, like, all right, it's spring break, so there's nothing going on at church. We get kind of a break.
Yeah.
And then I forgot that, I have my kid all week with me.
All week long, yes.
And so, like, she's bringing me coffee at 7 a.m., like, hey, let's get up. And I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Dude, that is true. That's probably messing up your sleep schedule.
Dude, so bad. And she is wide open all day. But it's all good.
Yep.
So, what are we going to talk about today?
Man, we're going into some more Easter stuff.
That's it. This is part 2 of our Easter miniseries.
I already don't know what this stuff is that you've been talking about.
I know. It's going to be it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I am a little bummed. We
Why?
were talking before. We got 0 comments on our YouTube.
I was a little bit disappointed by that too.
Look,
yeah, they don't like us anymore.
Y'all kind of let us down. You hurt our feelings just a little bit.
You did. That was such a fun episode.
It was a lot of fun.
And we wanted to know what you guys are eating for Easter and, kind of going into that. And we got nothing.
Nothing.
Crickets. Just crickets.
Yeah. That stink bug on the light there is giving us more feedback.
And he said he likes it.
Yeah, it's true. He's here for it. No, guys, come on. While you hit this, and that's a good segue. We need you to hit that like button.
Yep.
And a few of you hit the like button, but hit that like button, hit subscribe, and comment below, guys. I mean, at the end of the day, we're doing this show for y'all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So comment
to add value to your life.
Yeah.
That's exactly what for some of you, it's just, you just tune in to just laugh at us for a little while.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But then others, it's, maybe you get a little nugget of quality information.
Yep.
Maybe a little uplift here or there. It's what we're all about.
Either way, all we ask is a click, and we'll do the rest.
And a click and a comment.
Yep.
Or a click and a review if you're on Spotify. That's super helpful. And this is just kind of a little, this little series is not a whole lot of just like mind-blowing, hard-hitting content.
Yeah.
This is to get us ready. This is, we're going to get us in the mode here.
Leading up to Easter.
Yes, that's exactly right. And so today we are going to look at all of the events and the observances that make up a fine quality Easter celebration. And the more you get into this stuff, the more you find out there's so much stuff.
Yeah,
there's so much stuff.
When you were talking about some of them off air, I had never heard of them.
I know.
I was like,
me neither.
okay.
Me neither.
But the interesting thing about this is we know about kind of the big ones. We know about, we're going to talk about Ash Wednesday and we're going to talk about Lent a little bit. But then that all kind of leads down to what they call Holy Week. Mm-hmm. And we're going to kind of, unpack how Holy Week sort of took shape. But then there's some wild and crazy stuff that people do around the world for Holy Week. It's just a little bit crazy. But did you know that the whole Easter experience starts well before Ash Wednesday?
Oh, really?
Yes, and we're going to get to that, but we have one order of business to take care of first.
Uh-oh.
Yes, and this is...
yeah, you can't get by without sharing.
Yeah, And so I got special Easter jokes today.
All right.
Okay. So, Pat, why did the Easter egg hide?
I have no idea.
Because he was a little chicken. Thank you very much. How many?
Oh, wrong one.
Thank you. There we go. How many Easter eggs can you put in an empty basket?
All of them?
Only one, because after that, it's not empty anymore.
Oh, man.
Okay.
All right.
Public school.
One more. What do you call an Easter egg from outer space?
I have no idea.
I was going to say like a lunar egg, but that don't sound...
Extraterrestrial.
Oh, man. That's good.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Extraterrestrial, yeah.
Okay.
Extraterrestrial. It's feeling a little scrambled today.
Yeah.
The second one was kind of a deep one. You had to think about it.
I know.
That's a little trick.
I know.
I was expecting for the punchline. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm just an idiot. Okay.
Anyway, okay, so we got the jokes.
Yep.
And we got the setup. And so yes, around the world, Easter is observed in different ways. And we know that the actual Easter, the celebration of the resurrection of Jesus, didn't really even start until about the 2nd century. Mm-hmm. So before that, and it's funny because you think, well, why in the world, the early Christians, 1st century, I mean, it was all about the risen Savior, right?
Right.
Why didn't they do something big,
Because they didn't like to party.
Well, you know what? We forget how persecuted they were
Right.
in that 1st century. I mean, even into the 2nd century. Yep. So, they're not going to go dancing around
shebang.
maypoles and ribbons and they're not going to do that. So as soon as things started to loosen up a little bit, they're going like, hey, you know what? We need to have some special stuff. And so it just evolved over time.
Yeah.
But really a good Easter celebration starts with Shrovetide.
I couldn't agree more.
Yes.
I tied my shrove. I'm just saying.
What do you do for Shrovetide?
I tied my shrove.
It's interesting because Shrovetide is just a little season of sort of growing awareness that Ash Wednesday and Lent and Easter and all that stuff is coming, and so it's a time of anticipation.
Gotcha.
And the length of Shrovetide just sort of varies, but every Shrovetide celebration culminates in Shrove Tuesday.
Okay.
You ever heard of Shrove Tuesday?
I was today's year old when I heard it.
Yeah. It's also known as Fat Tuesday, or in the French, Mardi Gras.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday, is actually kind of like the big signal that Easter's coming, because what they do is it's also called Pancake Tuesday.
But now I like the sound of that.
Yeah. Pancake Day. It is the final day of Shrovetide, marking the end of pre-Lent.
So are you telling me we can celebrate Mardi Gras in church?
I mean, clearly, this is exactly what we're supposed to do. But I think we're supposed to celebrate with pancakes.
I got you.
Not the beads.
Beads are okay. It's what kind of accompanies the beads that probably is not too helpful and wholesome. But
keep your shroves tied.
Good job.
But the interesting thing is, it's like Shrove Tuesday is when you consume or participate in everything that you're going to give up for Lent.
Oh, so
it's a wild
So
time.
it's like an anti-purge leading up to
That's exactly what it is.
Gotcha.
And of course, not everybody gives up things for Lent, but they celebrate anyway. It's like
I'm gonna give this up.
Yeah,
I'm one of those.
So like the whole Mardi Gras thing. There's different celebrations. In Europe, they do Carnival. Mm-hmm. Same kind of idea.
Yeah.
Is this kind of pre-Lent kind of hey, let's blow it all out so that we can get really super somber and repentant over the next 4
So they're going to get plastered and super full on food.
It's pretty much it.
You think there's any comparison where this is around the time everyone's New Year's resolutions have collapsed? And so they're like,
no
all right, we
doubt
get a
about
hard
that.
reset.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The word shrove is a form of the English word shrive, which means to give absolution for someone's sins by way of confession and doing penance. So you have to be properly shriven before the start of Lent. That's it. And so, a celebratory meal begins with pancakes, and other sweets, that kind of thing. So
Fair enough.
I'm all about that.
Yeah, fair enough.
So really, Easter begins with Shrove Tuesday, and then the next day is Ash Wednesday.
Yeah.
Now, Pat, what do you think about Ash Wednesday? What do you know about Ash Wednesday?
That my wife knows more about it than I do.
Yes, absolutely. This is not something that I grew up with. It's something
neither.
that I came to a whole lot later in my life. Have you ever been to an Ash Wednesday service?
I've just seen Mark Wahlberg put the ashes
Oh, yeah.
on his forehead.
Yeah, he's very famous
He's
for
a big
that.
Catholic. Isn't it more of a Catholic thing?
Well, here's the interesting thing. And it has to do with all of these sort of observances that we're going to mention. In the 2nd to the 3rd century, what we know as the Christian church is something that we would now know as the Catholic Church.
Right.
Gotcha.
Especially when Constantine just sort of put his stamp of approval on Christianity.
Yeah.
Embraced it to whatever degree you think he embraced it. But basically, there was no more persecution. It was the official religion of Rome, and so everything sort of started to, blossom out from there.
Yeah, way before the creeds and Reformation, all that. It just was the Holy Roman Church, which was Catholic.
It was the church,
Gotcha.
The church.
And so everything began to get distinctly Roman,
right?
So of course we know certain things, that the church split at some point, and one was the Greek Orthodox Church, and then one was the Roman Catholic Church. But and so now they do things a little bit differently, same kind of concept. And then the Reformation comes, and then you've got the Anglican Church, which looks a lot like the Catholic Church, only it's Protestant, not Catholic. That whole thing. So a lot of these observances are going to originate from the Catholic Church, or they're going to sound really, really Catholic,
and they'll look slightly different.
In different, there's kind of a spectrum on all of them. You can celebrate Ash Wednesday or observe Ash Wednesday in a very, very formal way. In fact, when Ash Wednesday started, it was for what they called the penitents. In other words, either you were a new convert or becoming a new convert, or you just really went through a bad stretch, shall we say.
Need to clean your spirits a little bit.
Yeah, major repentance was necessary. So you would put on these shrouds and these robes and dump ashes on your head, and you would parade through the streets. That was, it's like I'm voluntarily telling you what a horrible person I am.
Yeah.
I'm in the process of converting to Christianity. So
So now they didn't do a little cross. They were straight up dumping ashes on their head.
That's it. They were covering themselves in ashes and walking around like that.
So modern day equivalent would be a Facebook dumpster fire.
I would say, that would be pretty close. But over time, they wanted it to.
Hold on. We need to bring this back.
What?
This makes me think of the what was it, the ALS challenge where people dump the water on themselves?
Oh,
Yes.
the
we ought
ice
to
bucket
do
challenge.
for Ash Wednesday. We'll
Okay.
start.
Okay.
People are going to take it. This is what we need to start on Facebook. Coming up, Ash Wednesday.
Ash Wednesday challenge.
We're going to
2025.
circulate
That's
this.
it. Yeah.
You're going to dump ashes on their head. And if you get tagged in it, you got to dump ashes on. I think we ought to do that.
Extra credit if there's still glowing briquettes in there.
That's really dedicated. Yes.
Should they wear robes and hoods and things like that?
think so.
I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
probably,
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going
All
to go
right.
back to the olden days.
Okay. I kind of like that.
King James would approve.
No doubt about it. Absolutely.
He mandated it.
So it kind of morphed over time to something that everyone could participate in, because who in the world does not need to repent?
Yeah.
Okay. But here's the cool thing about it is the way that they would make the ashes is they would take the palm branches from the previous Palm Sunday
Burn those.
And they would burn them and mix them with oil.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
And that became the ashes for your forehead. And in fact, some would go even further. They would take the palm branches from the Palm Sunday service and they would pass them out to the congregation. And the congregation, you would maybe hang one on your wall. Some people would take the small ones and put them in the pages of their Bible and flatten them out. And you just kind of put them in various different places. And then they would have a special day where all the church family would bring all of their branches and they would burn them together.
Oh, that's cool.
And then they would make the ashes and mix it with oil. And then the next day or the couple of days later, they would do the whole Ash Wednesday thing. So, yeah. So,
interesting.
Yeah, Ash Wednesday has honestly kind of taken off. It's being observed in a wide variety of church contexts.
Oh, Marky Mark, man.
Yeah. Now, is this something they do like? Where is it that we've seen the huge explosion? Is it Africa where there's like a huge Christianity boom? Are they big? Do they do a lot of these?
Actually, not as much, except for, so in the South American countries, the main, expression of Christianity is Catholic. Yeah. So they're going to do all that stuff.
Yeah. All of Latin America.
Most of the African countries and the Caribbean countries where Christianity is exploding is expressed in a form of Pentecostalism.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's very, spirit-led kind of
stuff. Like a rattlesnake on their shoulder.
Yeah.
No, it's cobras. Cobras over there.
Cobras.
Yeah. But, the idea is you receive the ashes on your forehead and they say, remember, you are butt dust.
Yes, I am.
You are but dust, and to dust you shall return. So now, the next time you go to one of these, and the pastor or the priest says you are but dust,
you're but dust.
You're gonna laugh.
I will.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I'm too much like Beavis and Butthead. Like, I'm like, he said butt.
He said butt dust.
Yeah.
Okay, so that then is the signal that the season of Lent starts, and we've sort of talked a little bit about Lent. We won't spend a whole lot of time on it, but Lent is the 40 days before Holy Week. You don't have to observe Lent on Sundays. You can, whatever you abstain from, you can partake of.
Did not know that.
I didn't wait during Lent.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I did not know that either.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So if you you can like quickly reinstall your Instagram app. Scroll through all your stuff.
Get your binge in and then delete it.
And then, it's midnight.
Game over.
Yeah, gone again.
I never have heard that.
I didn't either. Yep. See you in 7 days.
Yep.
Yeah, and different, expressions of Christianity kind of, sort of parse these things out in different ways. Mm-hmm. For some, Lent ends at the first day of on Palm Sunday, the first day of Holy Week. For others, it doesn't end until Maundy Thursday, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But that's kind of the idea about Lent. It's a period of, being solemn and self-reflection and, the whole thing.
Self-denial.
And just, repentance, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Self-evaluation, that's all that kind of stuff. So the English word Lent is a shortened form of the Old English word Lenten, meaning spring season.
Okay.
That's all it is, spring season. So that is Lent. And so we wind our way through Lent, looking forward to the whole Holy Week experience.
Right.
Yeah. And that's kind of, we're getting like super close to that.
Yeah.
Because this coming Sunday, as we're recording this, is Palm Sunday.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
it is game time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then there's all these things that happen. So we got Shrovetide, Shrove Tuesday, Ash Wednesday. We got the whole Lent thing, and then we kick off the big week with Palm Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's very interesting because. In my upbringing, Palm Sunday just meant that a palm branch was thrust into my hand, sometimes made with construction paper or pipe cleaners, and that I was supposed to walk down the aisle and wave it.
Yeah.
And that was
Hosanna.
That was it.
I was going to say Palm Sunday. When you say that, all I can think of is just the kids waving the palm branches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in some ways, I mean, that is Palm Sunday. I mean, we are just observing, commemorating, Christ's triumphal entry into Jerusalem.
Now, a cool thing, I think me and you talked about this on the one we did on the other show. They thought he was coming to be like the Revelator kind of thing, didn't they? He was going to ride
to overthrow the Roman government. Yeah,
they always viewed the Messiah as the next king. They only connected messiahship with kingship.
Yeah,
and ironically enough, that's exactly what Jesus came to be, but not over an earthly kingdom, over the heavenly kingdom of the world. So just to kind of little bit of thumbnail sketch, little overview, biblical overview. It's in all four Gospels, and only the Gospel of John shows a timeline of the event dated 6 days before the Passover. John also mentions the raising of Lazarus, so that happened before, and that's important because obviously everybody's crowding into the city for the Passover celebration.
Yeah.
And they now have heard of this guy who just raised somebody from the dead.
Yep.
That's what kind of pulls all this stuff together. He starts out in Bethany, and then, of course, he tells his disciples to go get this donkey. And in one of the accounts, he says, if anybody asks you about why you're taking this donkey,
tell them your Lord's in need of it.
That's it. The Savior needs it, and they'll let you have it, and they did. So the Gospel of Matthew states that this happened that the prophecy might be fulfilled of Zechariah 9:9, the coming of Zion's king. See, your king comes to you, righteous and victorious, lowly, and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. And so there's some kind of sense that Jesus was declaring himself to be king.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about this is that if a king or somebody who said they were going to be king, claimed himself to be king, if a king rode into a city for conquest, he would ride on a horse. If a king came in peace, he'd be riding on a donkey. So if this king was going to visit a neighboring nation,
he'd ride a donkey.
If he came in peace.
Yeah.
If he's riding a horse, then there's probably going to be an army behind him.
Yeah.
And this is a prophecy from Isaiah as well, right?
I don't know the answer to that, to tell you the truth.
I think it is.
The only prophecy I know about a donkey that I'm sure of is in Zechariah.
Maybe it's Zechariah I'm thinking of.
So Jesus rides, he sets up this whole scenario. Obviously, he's riding it. Now, I don't know if Jesus expects a crowd.
Yeah.
I mean, he's God, so maybe he does know, that there's a crowd. But then all the people came around. They see him kind of in this little procession mode.
Yeah.
And it triggers something. They're just instantly. And so they take off their cloaks and they lay them on the ground and they start spreading all these palm branches and everything. And they're shouting, Hosanna.
Hosanna.
Which means save us now.
For those of you watching that want to look at it, Peter's right, as always. It's Zechariah 9:9.
There you go. They're singing Hosanna, which means save us now, and they're shouting, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. We bless you from the house of the Lord. Mm-hmm. So it says a little bit in this little article here about the whole, king on a horse means war, king on a donkey means peace.
Yeah.
So Christ's entry to Jerusalem would have thus symbolized his entry as the Prince of Peace, not as a war-waging king. But all people can think of as king.
Yep.
This is our next king. So the interesting thing here is, it says there have been two different meanings: a historical meaning truly happening according to the Gospels, and a secondary meaning in the symbolism. So in Luke 19:41, as Jesus approaches Jerusalem, he looks at the city and weeps over it, foretelling his coming death and the suffering that awaits the city in the events of the destruction of the temple, the second temple. So and it talks a little bit about the the symbolism of covering the streets and all these things. So it's a big deal. It's a big day. Palm Sunday.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to it than just cute little kids,
right,
waving the palms.
Yeah.
Saying Hosanna. And we're gonna this Palm Sunday, I'm actually going to preach a message on I am the light of the world. And it's going to all kind of, kind of tie together. So it's going to be cool. So it starts with Palm Sunday. And then there is this thing. We typically say, okay, Palm Sunday. And then nothing really happens until Thursday. Mm-hmm. But that's not true. Because we have something called Clean Monday. I just learned about this today. It's also known as Pure Monday, Green Monday, or simply the Monday of Lent. Okay, so
is this where everyone cleans out their house, where there's like not a speck of dirt?
It doesn't say that.
You got to get all that lint out of there.
That lint, yeah, I like that. That is a better joke than the ones I have.
Let me see which. Let me continue. I just want to make sure. Okay,
so. Clean Monday refers to the purification of the body in preparation to the Great Lent. You're taking a day on Monday to sort of prepare yourself for what comes later in the week.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all it really is.
Is it? Maybe did they have like rituals they would do?
No, not really. It says they have something called Forgiveness Vespers the night before, which culminates with the ceremony of mutual forgiveness, at which all present will bow down before one another and ask forgiveness. How about that?
That'd be good. That'd be a nice thing to do today.
Yeah. I don't, we probably won't, but...
No, probably not. No, there's a couple I could think of that probably won't go meet up on.
So... Then that gets to Tuesday of Holy Week, which nothing really happens.
Yeah.
So you get one day of just kind of,
Just chilling.
Mm-hmm. But then you're going to like this one. This is called Holy Wednesday, also known as Spy Wednesday.
Spy Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty cool.
Spy Wednesday. Sometimes called Good Wednesday, but that's, not much. Here's the narrative about Spy Wednesday. In the New Testament account of Holy Week, after Palm Sunday, the Sanhedrin gathered and plotted to kill Jesus before the Feast of Pesach. So, we know this little story about on the Wednesday before his death, Jesus was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leopard, and a woman named Mary anointed his head and feet with a costly oil of spikenard. Judas was very upset by this. So Judas, this was the last straw for him, and so he goes to the Sanhedrin and betrays Jesus. That's why it's a Spy Wednesday.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's named after Judas.
It is. It absolutely is.
And I found it too. Clean Monday is for Jews is called kashering.
Okay.
And they're preparing their homes for Passover, and they get rid of all leaven products in their house, and they have to get every speck out.
Love that.
Every speck out.
Every speck.
Like
modern days, it says they even get like a rogue Cheerio out.
Wow.
The food's known as chametz.
Wait, every speck of the leaven or every speck of dust?
Every speck with leaven.
Yeah.
No. Oh, I thought you meant there can't be one speck of dust in their house.
Oh no, it's no yeast.
Okay. I was gonna say, man, if I'm visiting any Jews, I'm gonna go on that time.
Yeah, exactly. You just bust in there with your dirty old boots on, right?
Yeah. Walk in there,
Cheerios everywhere.
Man, yeah, they scream.
Y'all. Yeah, Clean Monday this.
Yeah.
Exactly. So oftentimes on Holy Wednesday or Spy Wednesday, they will hold a service called Tenebrae.
Okay.
I've heard of that.
We did this last year.
Yeah, we did a Tenebrae service.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And it actually is a really cool service.
It's pitch black.
It ends up in complete darkness.
Yeah.
The way that you do Tenebrae is it's actually just a series of readings and prayers. So you sort of read through all the way up until the cross. So you read different parts of the narrative. You start with Judas and the Sanhedrin, and then you kind of Peter's denial of Jesus, and the torturing and the beating and all this kind of stuff. And every time you do a reading, and you'll do a song usually too, that kind of goes with it. And so you're in this mostly dark sanctuary. There are a number of candles, and we got black candles because it was really cool.
Yeah.
And we covered the communion table with a black cloth. And so everything is super dark. And every time that you read one of these passages and sing one of these songs, as you're singing the song, you remove a candle and process it out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then so the next one reading is done, and while you're singing the song, someone else processes the candle out.
Now, we did this 2 years ago, but we didn't do it last year?
We did not do it last year.
My years are running together.
I know.
I thought we did it last year.
I could certainly be wrong.
No, I doubt it.
But
I'm probably wrong on this one.
Anyway, so you step through this number of candles, and each, of course, each candle goes out. It gets darker and darker and darker.
Yeah.
And when you get to the last one, you got one candle left, and you cover up the candle and process out in complete darkness and silence.
Nice.
So as soon
I
as
do remember us doing that, but I can't remember if it was last year or year before.
I can't either, but it was really awesome.
Yeah.
We got that sometimers.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
was the other day.
And then they actually talk about here. Here's an element that I was not familiar with, but it has it's the extinguishing of candles and the strepitus, which means loud noise.
Okay.
Yeah. So it says, after a recitation of Psalm 50 and 51 and a special prayer, a loud noise was made, which was originally a signal for the ministers to depart, but later was interpreted as symbolizing the confusion and terror that accompanied the death of Jesus, including the earthquake.
Okay.
I would like to include that next time.
Let's do it.
We could do one of your sound effects of an actual, like an explosion or an earthquake or something like that. And it's like right when we cover up that last candle, just like
move,
That'd be
everybody up.
Everybody's very somber, and
I'm down with that.
I think that'd be awesome. Okay, so now we got we're in the middle of Holy Week now, and so you've got your let's review here. We got Shrovetide, Shrove Tuesday, which you eat pancakes, right? You got Ash Wednesday, you burn the leaves, all that stuff. Then
Lent.
Lent, all the thing of Lent. Clean Monday. No, Palm Sunday.
Yeah, Clean Monday.
Clean Monday. Nothing on Tuesday. Now we've done Spy Wednesday with Tenebrae. Okay.
This seems a long week.
It is a long week. It really is.
Why did we get away from doing, I feel like we don't do a lot of the stuff in the Bible. It'd be like, week or 2 week or something, month-long celebrations. I wonder why we kind of got away from that.
Well, honestly, there's a couple of reasons for this. When the Reformation happened, and then all of the Protestants started to branch out into different parts of the world, different traditions, different cultures, all these different kinds of things. They're sort of became an anti-Catholic sort of sentiment. It's like, we're free. We don't have to do any of those things. And to be fair, the Roman Catholic Church had become very corrupt by the time of the Reformation.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these rituals were almost as legalistic as what the Pharisees would try to do to the Jews in that culture.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like you got to do the confession, and you got to do and everything was wrapped up in, if we do everything correctly, then we are super spiritual and all that kind of stuff. And then that set up this kind of hierarchy. So like, the priests were in charge of everything. So they're the extra spiritual ones, and we're just the little peons, and, all this stuff. So when the Reformation happened, there was a backlash effect. But then even more beyond that, when, especially in the West, when the United States sort of took shape, and then as the religion sort of became more modernized, there was this thing called dispensationalism. And when dispensationalism, I'm not going to go into what all that theology is, but suffice it to say, it sort of refigured out how all this stuff works. And it really began to put less and less of an emphasis on anything that was a ritual. It's like turn communion into an ordinance. It's not a sacrament anymore. Same thing with baptism. It is sort of, I don't know, it's sort of like desacramentalized everything. Even marriage, like marriage is a sacrament in the Catholic Church and in some other traditions. It's just like, I don't know, we're just gonna, as long as the preacher's there and the license is signed in, you're just married. And so that whole thing, then you start combining that with what happened in even in the the 60s and 70s in our modern era, where it was like, now you churches are uptight and you're legalistic and you just want a piano and an organ. We need drums. We need like all of this stuff is kind of it isn't just one thing.
I'm kind of curious now because like in Europe we see this happen. With the Holy Roman Church going up to the Reformation. In America, we see it from the Puritan culture.
Kind of,
when they come over, and then it gradually went that way as well.
Yeah, and to be fair, also, even the Puritans and even the Baptists and the Anabaptists, and they were not that much into these kinds of observances.
Yeah,
they were formal, but not in this way.
Like even these were too old school for them?
Well, they wanted to keep it simple.
Yeah.
They observed Easter. Remember when they outlawed Christmas? Remember we talked about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like, nah, we're not doing that one. But they did observe Easter.
Yeah.
But they were just very careful about, we don't want to. And there was a big thing about no icons and no stained glass windows. Those are all idols.
Yeah.
And graven images and all this stuff.
Very Church of England.
Everything that was Catholic just became, nah, we don't do that.
Yeah.
So really, I think what's happening in our subculture today, even with young people like in their teens and 20s, they're rediscovering some of these things.
Yeah.
And they're going like, wow, that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
We did the Tenebrae service either last year or the year before. And the majority of the participants, like those who read the scriptures, those who carried the candles, those who put the whole thing together, they were literally from 18 to 23.
That's awesome.
They just wanted to, they wanted to be there. It was really neat.
That I guess it was it Christmas? Yeah, I think it was Christmas or the New Year when we talked about that like week-long celebration. Was that the New Year? You remember that? It was a week-long celebration they go into. I think it actually was Christmas. It continued on.
Are you talking about leading up to Epiphany?
Yeah, that's what it was, Epiphany.
Yeah.
And, man, that's what I'm like, all these things, I'm like, man, it's cool.
We shorten it, man.
We're gonna find out more about that at the end of this episode.
Gotcha.
Just like we found out with Christmas. Christmastide, the whole, 12 days of Christmas, that whole thing. We're going to get into that here. And this is the interesting thing, is because I guess when you don't have, electronic digital media and things that occupy your time and, things like automobiles and stuff like this, you just have a slower pace of life and you see things differently because they're starting their Easter observances, like in February.
Yeah, almost, a month out.
Yeah. And they're going, oh yeah, Easter's coming.
Yeah,
and we're like, no, it's Super Bowl Sunday.
Time moves slower.
Yeah,
we're like Easter's coming when we're all off work for Good Friday.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, Easter will be here. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're in the middle of Holy Week, and now we come to what is traditionally known as the Paschal Triduum.
Okay.
Triduum. I might have just totally butchered that pronunciation.
I bought it.
They say just say it with confidence and everybody will be
it's
okay.
Something to do with Thursday, right?
Actually, what it is, Triduum is it means 3 days.
Oh, okay.
And this is like the heart of Holy Week.
Gotcha.
Here. Okay. So now we got Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Okay.
That's the Paschal Triduum.
So this carries over into Good Friday.
Oh, yeah, it includes Good Friday.
Okay, gotcha.
Good Friday is the centerpiece of the Triduum.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So at the end of it, you say, I tridid them. Triduum. Yeah, that's what I'm going with.
Triduum.
Yeah. So here's what we're going to talk about now. So we got Maundy Thursday.
Okay.
And I've got a little pet peeve about that I'm going to share with you in just a minute. And then you got Good Friday. And then you've got what they call Holy Saturday, or my favorite, Black Saturday.
Black Saturday.
Kind of sounds like Black Sabbath.
It does. And say kind of got a metal sound to it.
Isn't Saturday the Jewish Sabbath?
It is.
Black Sabbath.
Uh-huh.
Can we play Iron Man?
Yes, we can.
Okay, let's do it.
Absolutely.
Peter's up there. Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah. So it says in the Catholic tradition, Anglican, Lutheran, Methodist, and the Moravians observe the Paschal Triduum.
You just need to play Black Sabbath. You know, Black Sabbath has the song Black Sabbath.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
So now we're going to get into the individual elements of the Paschal Triduum.
Okay.
The Maundy Thursday it sounds weird to me.
It kind of is weird, but I'm going to demystify this for you.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so my pet peeve about Maundy Thursday is everyone that calls it Maundy Thursday.
Sounds like Monday.
That's what I'm saying. That's what sounds weird about it.
But it's not Monday. It's Maundy. Maundy.
It is spelled differently.
It is Maundy.
There's no A in there.
Like Grundy, but not.
But not. That's exactly right. Yep. Okay, so it is the day during Holy Week that commemorates the washing of the feet.
Okay.
The Last Supper of Jesus Christ with the apostles, as described in the canonical Gospels. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Where do they get the Maundy?
Okay, it comes right from here. It's a Latin word. Maundy comes from the Latin word mandatum, or commandment. Reflecting Jesus' words, I give you a new commandment, or, like I like to say, a new commandment I give you.
That sounds better.
Yeah.
So it happens on Thursday of Holy Week, and it is that whole scene where, now, the interesting thing is, that Matthew, Mark, Luke all describe in detail the Lord's Supper. Mm-hmm. They say who was there and what they were eating and drinking, what Jesus said. John does not describe the Lord's Supper in detail like that.
Yeah.
In fact, John just says they had the meal. Mm-hmm. I guess he figured the other three already
they already got it.
Yeah,
they nailed it.
Just read theirs if you're wondering.
Or he wasn't very impressed.
No, I think he was impressed. What he was most impressed by was Jesus, standing up, taking up a towel, and washing everybody's feet.
Yeah.
That was a big deal to John.
Yeah. Well, like we've said before, like their feet. We're grossed out. I mean, that's like gross to me now. No. You think about their feet back then; they wore sandals in the dust and mud and dirt. Like their feet would have been filthy.
Their feet would have been covered in dust and dirt,
calluses,
and shall we say
feces?
Yes, poop. Yeah, they had poop feet.
Yep, poop feet.
Yep, exactly. And it was a traditional sort of gesture of hospitality when you were an invited guest, that the servant, first thing right off the bat, would wash the feet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wash everybody's feet, mostly. And the interesting thing about this is, now, when I first sort of felt my call to ministry and the church tradition that I was involved in at that time.
You were washing your feet?
Well, we had foot washing services.
Okay.
They consider baptism, communion, and foot washing to be on equal levels.
Right on.
Yeah. And so we would certainly, we're not big, super big Holy Week people, but usually we would do one of those foot washing services during Holy Week.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we'd have them, like 2 or 3 other times during the year. And basically everybody gathered in the church basement, the 15 people who were brave enough.
Wear your slides that day.
Yeah, that's it. And so it actually could be a really, really kind of emotional and profound kind of experience. They would put the ladies on the one side and the men on the other. We don't want any cross-pollination foot washing going on here. Yeah, that's weird. It's really weird. So the ladies would wash the ladies' feet and so on and so forth. Yeah. Put a curtain between the two. And then whoever's hosting it, usually the pastor, would stand where both groups could see him or her. And, kind of do this little, almost like you do an institution of the Lord's Supper kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Read the passage, talk a little bit about, what's going on, give instructions. And basically the instructions were, if you just wanted to bless somebody, you could go over and you take the basin, and they would have one barefoot, and so you dip it in there, and you kind of wash their foot like that, and then you pray a prayer of blessing over them. But where it really got good is they would always say, if you've been harboring resentment against someone, or if somebody has wronged you or betrayed you, then this is the time for reconciliation.
Oh, that's so. You think anyone's there now? Is he washing my foot? Because
I think there was some of that.
Yeah.
Like didn't know.
Yeah, like he's been mad at me this whole time.
I
have no idea.
Yeah,
and sometimes there would be a little conversation afterwards, like, man, did I hurt you? If I hurt you, it's like, no, it's all, I mean, or yeah, you did, but
I hated you.
Exactly.
And I washed your feet.
Yeah.
Well, and I witnessed one time where it was an old person that came and washed a younger person's foot. And they said in the moment, when you walked in this church, I immediately did not like you. And my heart's been changed.
Nice.
Yeah. And I realized that I was wrong.
See, I could see where that'd be very powerful.
It was. It really was. Sometimes it was awkward. Sometimes it was weird. I can't lie about that. But that's what we did.
Yeah. I don't think I'd have been one of the brave ones to show up.
Maybe you would after a while.
Maybe. Yeah.
I've been a part of a foot washing service before.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was at a service one time where they really felt led by the Spirit to do this sort of reconciliation foot washing thing. Mm-hmm. But it was a big gathering, so they couldn't just go find a bunch of buckets.
Yeah.
And so they brought out a whole bunch of cloths, and you were to go shine their shoe.
I'd be more inclined to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this: it was weirder for me to have my foot washed.
Oh, for sure.
Than it was to wash someone else's.
Yeah.
Completely. And it's really humbling too.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
yeah,
it's deep.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody, I guess.
I think I'd probably be the same. The thought of somebody having to touch my feet, I'm like, I don't know.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, you kind of have that mindset. It's like you ain't got to do that.
I know.
You really want to tell them no, you don't have to, but it's like you said, it is a powerful moment.
Yeah.
It is.
It's not my toe jam.
I was gonna say, so you're not gonna spring some foot washing upon us
only
on
when
Sunday,
you're there.
I'm gonna be like, man, the pain's hitting. I'm gonna take it to the bathroom.
No, you'll be like, I got to be outside in the parking lot. There might be some
I need to go keep my eyes out outside.
There.
Well, our head of security, please let us honor him.
This is a good time to go monitor the parking lot. Yeah.
But the most important thing about Maundy Thursday, and I think that however way anybody chooses to observe it, is you take the three elements together. So you have Jesus' new commandment that you love one another just as I have loved you. Mm-hmm. And then you take the Lord's Supper, where he, institutes, the model, for his own sacrifice. And then also the actual foot washing.
Yeah.
So I think every Maundy Thursday service needs to, combine all of those together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it. So let's see if there's anything else. No, there's nothing else. Mandatum, new commandment. All right, that takes care
right in your way, ain't it?
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. I got it. There's a bunch of other kind of ritual stuff in here that's not important. But then we get to, like one of the biggies, which is Good Friday.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Everyone's off work.
Oh yeah.
Now,
that one gets the. We're getting this year.
Good Friday, yes.
Always loves it. Yeah. Half a day at work or school.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen on the farm anymore, but
that's right. So I'm sure you've been to a Good Friday service.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do they do? Do you remember anything in particular?
Not besides just a lot of music. I don't remember a whole lot else about it.
Yeah. What about you, Pat?
I think every Good Friday service I've been to has been kind of like silent communion. Like there's music playing. You come in, you can take communion, you can pray with your family. You know, and just kind of in and out.
Yeah, similar to what we do on Christmas Eve, right?
Yeah.
We did our Tenebrae on Good Friday, which is totally okay to do.
Yeah.
But that's how we did a Good Friday
it's
service.
the Tridium.
You tried it.
It's part of all. Yeah, Tridutum.
Yep.
Tridunded.
I like that. So it is all about the night that Jesus died.
Yeah.
The day, afternoon. He had to die before sunset.
Yeah.
It goes. I think a good, proper Good Friday service would go through all of the different events that took place.
Yeah.
From the arrest to the trials. How many trials did he go through?
7.
Yeah.
He went through 7 trials.
That's a lot of trials. And of course, we know all about Pilate, Pontius Pilate, and I found no fault in him.
Was it Barabbas?
Yes,
Barabbas. Give us Barabbas.
Yeah.
And so, boy, there's some really cool stuff about Barabbas too. We'll get into that probably next week.
Oh, that's a good teaser then.
Yeah, it is. There is so much symbolism and connection to the Old Testament in the whole. It's like God orchestrated it down to the very last detail. Even down to Jesus cleansing of the temple. All that stuff. It's like there was something extremely profound and symbolic, but also it was Jesus basically doing something that he knew would get him arrested.
Yeah.
It started the whole process.
And it's funny you say that too. It's not a lot of people realize Jesus went through 7 trials.
Yeah, because they all kind of mushed together. We think, it was the Sanhedrin, but there was multiple trials within the Sanhedrin.
Yeah, Sanhedrin, and then 3 trials from the Romans as well.
That's it. That's what I'm talking about.
And in one day. Wasn't it all in one day?
Oh, yeah, it was all, yeah.
I mean, that's what...
And the Sanhedrin tried him at night, which was against their own law.
Yep.
It was an unlawful trial. Just crazy.
Yeah. It reveals a lot of... It's funny how it reveals a lot of hypocrisy amongst the, I guess, amongst their legalism and their religious leaders, the hypocrisy of the religious leaders at that time.
Absolutely. And honestly, the corruption and the wickedness.
Yeah.
When Jesus pronounces his woes, even this, the last 2 messages that we've been through in John chapter 10 comes right after this healing of a man who was born blind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jesus is just like, I cannot believe how absolutely wicked you people are.
Right.
Yeah.
This guy, like you said, is the greatest day of his life.
I know.
And then this is the way you're behaving.
Yeah.
Why don't you just, anyway.
But these are the same that would carry their chair a certain distance out from their house.
Oh, yeah.
So they wouldn't work.
Absolutely.
But they could walk, and move they would manipulate.
There was also, I can't remember what they called themselves, but there was a certain kind of Pharisaic type of person. They prided themselves on holding all living things in high esteem. And so they would, when they walked through town, they would all carry brooms and they would sweep the ground in front of them in case there was bugs. Who does that?
And I bet you when no one was looking, they quit wiping them brooms.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
they're for show, man. They're for show.
Oh, you know who that person reminds me of is when you're in a 55 and it's a no passing zone and the person in front of you is going 35. That's what that person is. Doesn't make you a better driver, makes you in the way.
Yes,
that's exactly right. But my personal favorite. Now we'll go through a lot more of the story next week. But my personal favorite moment in that whole scenario with Pontius Pilate is when he says, okay, whatever, crucify him. And he puts a sign on the top of the cross that says, King of the Jews.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the Pharisees are going, hey man, you don't have any right to put that there. You don't put that there.
He says, it's going to stay what I wrote.
I said what I said.
Yep.
That's exactly right. It's like, okay.
Again, that's that Stone Cold moment. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think? Why do you think Pontius did that?
Honestly, I think that Pontius would have become a believer, but there was too much politically and career-wise at stake.
Yeah.
You remember that whole scenario when his wife?
Oh yeah.
His wife's going, hey, you might want to pay attention to some of this stuff, and he's going like, yeah, but I really need that next promotion, and I don't want to cause too much trouble, but then he's like, I don't know if this guy is who he says he is, but I know you guys are not who you say you are.
Yeah.
And also the verdict of the trial too. Pontius found him innocent.
Absolutely.
Well, that's
I
what
find no guilt in this.
He washed his hands there, I know, because he's
he
like,
said,
the blood is on your hands.
If you want to crucify him, you crucify him.
Yeah.
Which they were not allowed to do. I mean, the Roman soldiers had to do the deed. But basically, he's saying, you're the ones crucifying him.
Yep.
I'm just signing the letter.
Yep.
Yep. That's it. And so I think it's just a little, well, screw you kind of thing at the end, But then, but here's a very interesting thing. Because on Good Friday, in a very, very traditional high church Catholic setting, oftentimes you will commemorate the Stations of the Cross on Good Friday. It's a 14-step devotion. It's sometimes performed during Lent, but then it's especially performed on Good Friday.
Is that the Arose?
Kind of a similar kind of vibe, yes. Okay. Kind of, sort of. Via Doloroso and all that kind of stuff, yeah. So I kind of I did a little bit of putting that together so you kind of get an idea for what the Stations of the Cross. Now, this also there's another kind of element to it, which is called the veneration of the cross, or the adoration of the cross, or the exaltation of the cross, acknowledgement. It gives some interesting ideas for ways that you would raise the level of awareness about the cross, or the exaltation of the cross. It says, on Good Friday, the entire church fixes her gaze on the cross at Calvary. Each member of the church tries to understand at what cost Christ has won our redemption. And so in the solemn ceremonies of Good Friday, in the adoration of the cross, in the chanting of the reproaches, in the reading of the Passion, and in receiving the pre-consecrated host, they can't actually do communion on the Eucharist, they call it, on Good Friday, unless the elements were blessed the day before.
Gotcha.
We're not going to do no blessing.
Gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha.
So nothing is happy. Nothing's happy. They're fasting. It's all this stuff. The church, most of the time, in formal settings, the church is stripped of its ornaments. Anything shiny, anything happy, it's all gone. It's just bare.
So you're supposed to be very solemn.
Yeah, you're supposed to be devastated. That's kind of the way. The altar table is bare. Huh. The door of the doors all the doors are standing open, like there's it's vacant as if.
Well, Lord, they ought to make you work instead of half days on Good Friday. They ought to be like, you guys are going to pull an extra 10 hours today.
I know.
So it's like nothing but Taylor Swift breakup songs.
Yeah.
So, the reproaches are often chanted by a priest during the Good Friday service. Things like, my people, what have I done to you? How have I offended you? Answer me. I led you out of Egypt. You led your Savior to the cross. It goes on and on like that. And it's a lot of, Holy God, have mercy on us kinds of things.
Yeah.
And then it goes through some, here's a very interesting thing, too. There's one tradition that has different people narrate the different passages of the Passion, the crucifixion, and at the end, or in the middle, they're reading the part about the trial, and all the people have to shout, "Crucify him!"
Oh, really? To prove how we all did?
Yeah, and to kind of get an idea for what that feels like.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Wow.
Yeah,
I feel like we need to do that on the last Easter episode.
There you go.
We need to make ourselves do that.
Wow.
I want to make the church do it. That way I can be like, oh, I heard you scream it. I heard you say crucified.
We ought to make the church do it, but we're going to do it. I'm going to make a note here.
Okay, make a note.
It'll be, because, man, you don't want to, who wants to do that?
I don't.
There you go.
I don't want to do it right now.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So they also have some Good Friday ideas for families. And it begins with hot cross buns.
Hey, my favorite, man. Just what I. Hey,
That's
right.
the boomerang. Them suckers
Thinking
aren't
about
going
them
away.
earlier today.
We sure were.
And it says, that these buns originated at St. Albans Abbey in 1361, where monks gave them to the poor people who came there. And the Good Friday buns were very popular and were sold by vendors who cried, hot cross buns, 1 a penny, 2 a penny, hot cross buns. If you have no daughters, give them to your sons, 1 a penny, 2 a penny, hot cross buns.
I'm imagining them in like the baseball game. It's like, get your hot cross buns.
See, I'm over here, Brandon. I'm like hostess.
Yes.
Yeah. So here's some ideas. You might think about this for your children. See, first off is to hold a personal family prayer service on Good Friday.
Yeah.
But then you can encourage each member of the family to choose a particularly unpleasant job which has been put off for a long time. Cleaning the garage, scrubbing the bathrooms, whatever it might be. So you just say, hey kids, Good Friday. You don't want to disappoint Jesus.
Go clean the chicken coop
Say,
out.
hey.
There you go.
Something that's been put off for a while. Hey kids, come pay bills.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. I got plenty of animal feces around here that's got to be cleaned.
Yeah, no doubt. Good Friday was thought to be a good day for planting seeds.
Okay.
It says, with very young children, keeping silence during the 3 hours. You're supposed to have these prayer services for 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
So there's all these little kids activities.
The kids have to be quiet for 3 hours?
That's no go for my kid. She just can't do it.
Yeah.
God bless her, she can't.
I know. It's crazy. So then we get to these Stations of the Cross.
Okay.
Okay, so if you have like a cathedral or something, they'll probably have these Stations of the Cross in either stained glass or some sort of iconic figures.
Yeah.
And you can go and you can kneel at each station and you can remember what happened and you can pray these stations all along the way. And this would happen during Lent, but especially on Good Friday.
Yeah.
So here are the 14 stations.
You're supposed to have these set up in the church?
Yeah. Yep. And I've seen them actually done in a very informal way too, just with little, plaques or something like that. But of course the big cathedrals, they'll have the real deal.
Right.
Okay. So, from Jesus' condemnation by Pontius Pilate to his entombment. So the series of stations is as follows. Station 1, Jesus is condemned to death. 2, Jesus is made to bear his cross. 3, Jesus falls the first time. 4, Jesus meets his mother. 5, Simon of Cyrene is made to bear the cross. 6, Veronica wipes Jesus' face. You know about Veronica?
I don't know that I've heard about Veronica.
Yeah. Apparently, she had a cloth of some kind, and she's actually a saint now, Saint Veronica.
Yeah, she wiped his face when.
And they say that they have a cloth.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like I've heard of that cloth.
I think we might have mentioned that at some point.
Yeah,
I think so. When we were talking about the Shroud of Turin.
Yeah.
Probably. 7th station, Jesus falls the second time. 8th station, the women of Jerusalem weep over Jesus. 11, Jesus is nailed to the cross. Station 12, Jesus dies on the cross.
Wait, we skipped 9
I was
and
gonna
10.
say, where's 9 and 10?
Oh, where is 9 and 10? Oh no, it's not on my paper. We need to find 9 and 10. Oh my God!
I'm over here counting in my head.
Yeah.
Let's see. Unless you got it, you can pull it up. Yeah. Well, that's what it. About the time you said something, Pat, I was like, wait a minute.
It's okay.
I didn't forgot how to count.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, here it is. Here's the exact. Okay.
So we had the eighth station and now 9.
Yep. Okay, here we go. 8. Jesus meets the women of Jerusalem. They weep over him. Okay. Yep. 9. Here we go. Sorry, guys. Jesus falls for the 3rd time. 10. Jesus is stripped of his garments. Now we get to 11.
Okay.
Jesus is nailed to the cross. 12, Jesus dies on the cross. 13, Jesus is taken down from the cross. 14, Jesus is laid in the tomb.
Now, would a lot of these be like in the cathedrals that we were talking? Would they be like in their stained glass windows? Most of them.
Yeah, and you can see this right here. And sometimes they're in a relief, carving in the set into the wall like that.
Man, when Marcy and I went on our honeymoon, it was in New York, and we went in one of the big, huge, old cathedrals. Wish I had known about that to look for that.
Because you probably would have seen it.
Yeah,
exactly. Okay.
Yes, you usually see that, and then you'll see things like the baptism, John the Baptist baptizing Jesus, things like that.
Yeah.
So this devotional exercise of visiting and praying in front of each of the 14 stations and meditating on the passion of Christ stems from the practice of early Christian pilgrims who visited the scenes of the events in Jerusalem and walked the traditional route from the supposed location of Pilate's house to Calvary. So there is a tradition, probably a legend, that holds that Mary, the mother of Jesus, set up stone markers at her home outside Jerusalem to prayerfully retrace the steps of her son's passion. It kind of sounds a little bit like a dogwood tree to me.
Yeah. Not as like when you see it, you're it's questionable.
I mean,
yeah,
but they have an idea. They think of where he walked,
the probable path.
They do. Yeah, they do have. Yeah, if you go and do a Holy Land visit, they will typically take you.
That'd be a cool thing to go and do.
Hey, look, I've been trying to raise money for it for 3 years.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
Hey, viewers, y'all want to send us to Israel?
We've been saying we want to do some remote episodes.
Yeah,
that's the one.
That would be stupid cool.
We could do a cool one in the Holy Lands.
And I'm stupid jealous too. I have several friends that's been, and they've told me if you can go for 3 weeks and not see everything, you just scratch the surface.
Yeah, I have a really good friend of mine just got back not too long ago, but now it's probably not a good time.
I was gonna say, I feel like it'd be a dangerous time to be going over there.
So. We're almost to the end of Holy Week.
Okay.
We've taken it, February to, Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
We're almost there.
So,
Holy Saturday.
We just got through Good Friday.
Yep. And you can tell there's a lot on Good Friday.
Yeah.
And so, and the thing is, you don't have to do all of this stuff, but it's probably good to switch it up from year to year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just, do one thing or two things, whatever. But Good
always
Friday,
use the hot buns.
That's right.
Hot
cross
do
buns,
not leave those buns out.
We are going to do us some hot cross buns.
We are.
I want some.
Yeah.
On Good Friday, if you showed up, say you just showed up at one of these churches and they had those, and they saw you going around praying at the windows, they're going to know what you're doing. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah. In fact, there'd be times when, it would be part of the Good Friday observance. Once again, nothing happy happens on Good Friday.
Yeah.
So there might be a Eucharist, but it's done in a very somber way. More than likely, you would have some sort of stepping through the narrative, the story.
Yeah.
But I in certain instances that I have observed, sometimes personally, but sometimes even on television, it's just kind of an open, come and go kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the Good Friday stuff is happening like for a long period of time.
Yeah, but you pass through as you come in. Yeah.
Yeah, or you go in and you sit for a while and maybe you take the Eucharist and then maybe you go to station 1 and then you start the progress all the way around.
Gotcha.
Sometimes it's more of a liturgical communal thing where it's like, okay, now we're going to go do the Stations of the Cross.
Yeah.
But typically, it's more of a personal.
Everyone I've ever attended, that's the way it's been.
Yeah.
It's like you come in, take communion if you want, go through the places if you want.
Right. And you say your prayers.
Yes, stay as long as you want or just in and out.
And the whole time, the priest is doing something or there's music or, something.
Every time I've went in, it's always been really dimly lit.
Absolutely.
And been real somber music playing in the background.
Yep.
So is it like a play on it? Like if you call a big guy tiny? Is that when they call it Good Friday?
Absolutely it is. That's exactly. In fact, that's been like a controversy since it was invented.
Really?
Like, why do we call it Good Friday? Because nothing good happens on that day.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But actually, it's
Black Friday.
It's the idea of the sacrifice in the moment for the good of the world.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So that's it. And so now we get to Saturday, Holy Saturday. Holy Saturday, Batman.
Good job.
But it's also known as my favorite name, which is Black Saturday. We talked about that.
We just like a lot of black.
Yeah.
We kind of do. Yeah. Some people call it Good Saturday, Joyous Saturday. It's like, I don't know why. But here's my favorite thing about Holy Saturday. There's this commemoration called the Harrowing of Hell.
Sounds cool.
Okay.
Yes. The harrowing. Do you know anything about the harrowing of hell?
This has got to be about where Jesus went and took captives captivity.
Yep, that's exactly right.
It's got to be. Yeah.
Where he
But
descended.
I want to hear harrowing of hell, though. I think that's what we call it from now on.
That's always got to be what we call it. I didn't know it was called that until recently, and I thought, Lord,
sold.
That needs to be our next band name or something.
Well, I was
Right?
going to say, how is
That's
that not
perfect.
a metal song
That's
already?
what I want to know. That probably is somewhere. Probably could look
Is this
that
like
up.
a skeleton Jesus descended into hell here?
It's something like that.
He looks
yeah.
really skinny.
I agree. But, yeah. Oh, yeah. He's got nothing on but a loincloth and a cape.
Yeah.
That's a little.
So this
creepy.
was when he descended.
Yeah, that's exactly
Gotcha.
right. And so it says, we hear a little reference to this. If you recite the Apostles' Creed, you'll say he descended into hell.
Yeah.
It originally said descended into Hades, I think.
Yeah.
But the idea was that, the theology of the afterlife, especially in the Old Testament, was that everybody went to the same place. It's like your spirit would go to the place of the dead. In the Old Testament, we see it as Sheol. Sometimes it's translated as Hades, but that doesn't usually happen until, that's more of a Greek kind of expression of that.
Yeah.
So the idea was that all of the spirits of those who died went to Sheol, on the underworld. I guess it's like big. I don't know. But then it was sort of like expanded and redefined as the concept of Sheol kind of went along. And so the idea was that there were different chambers in the underworld.
Yeah.
And that there would be a chamber for the spirits who rebelled. The Nakash, which is the Satan, which is the original rebellion.
Yeah.
And then we those who caused the Nephilim and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They were just like, no, you're never going to do that again. And they were locked up, imprisoned inside of this.
Yeah.
Then there was a chamber for the unrighteous or the unrepentant. Mm-hmm. And then there was a chamber called Abraham's bosom, which I think we've mentioned on this show before, which was for the righteous, those who believed in Yahweh and followed Yahweh and worshipped Yahweh and no other gods. So this is the idea that everybody now it's very, very interesting because I just did some kind of deep diving into the underworld, and the idea of we hear about this concept of the lake of fire, and then we hear about these chambers that are in the underworld. All of this imagery and all of this concept comes directly from the book of Enoch.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
That Enoch was the one who divided up the chambers. And it's one of the few things from the book of Enoch that actually stuck. That
Really?
actually,
Okay. Yeah.
And so every time you see a reference of a lake of fire in Old or New Testament, actually, the Old Testament doesn't really talk about fire.
Yeah.
It talks about, the place of the dead or the pit or, that kind of thing. Fire isn't really introduced until the New Testament. And every time you see a lake of fire, that comes directly from Enoch.
Gotcha. Okay.
There isn't like
I might have to read that.
it's quite interesting. But anyway, so the idea was, the question is, what did Jesus do? He wasn't really, really, really dead. I mean, his body was dead. We know he's clinically dead, officially dead, but his spirit wasn't dead. Where did Jesus' spirit go? Mm-hmm. And the answer is it went to hell. It
descended.
To the underworld. Mm-hmm. And there's this kind of cryptic verse in the New Testament that talks about Jesus preaching to the captives or the prisoners. Mm-hmm. Now, preaching, does that mean he's trying to get them saved?
I was going to say, is that like giving them a chance?
This is a controversy. that people don't really know. It also, honestly, probably where I land is preaching also means proclaiming.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would Jesus need to proclaim to the underworld?
That he's conquered death.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now dominions come back to him, right? And by the way, you're never getting out of here.
Yeah, you were wrong. Yeah.
Right. In the book of Enoch, for those of you who are saying, "What the heck is he talking about?"
The Apocrypha.
We're going. We'll go into that later. But the book of Enoch is Second Temple literature. It is a religious book, but it's not considered to be worthy, inspired enough to be in the canon of Scripture.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but it's a very important book because a lot of material is pulled out of the book of Enoch. In fact,
for sure,
Peter quotes it. Jude quotes it. Yeah. So anyway, they
were reading this.
They certainly were reading this. Yes. So, where was I?
Lake of Fire.
Lake of Fire. Yes. The different chambers. All these kinds of things.
He was proclaiming.
Yes. In the book of Enoch, there is a scene in there where Enoch, this is not necessarily a real person, but it is the primary character in this book.
Right.
Enoch is approached by some of the surviving, disembodied spirits of the giants, and say, hey, all of my ancestors are locked up down there in the underworld, and they need to be set free, even if it's just for a short time. And so Enoch inquires of the Lord in this particular scenario, and God says, go back and tell them no.
Yeah.
Just no. I'm not going to do it. Oh. And so you kind of get this idea that's floating around out there that this may have been what Jesus went to the underworld to do, is to take back the dominion, to set free the righteous, and to proclaim to those who are in prison that they're never getting out.
Yeah.
That seems to make the most sense, because we don't see in eternity, we just don't see the idea of second chances anywhere.
Yeah.
That by the time, you've been given plenty of chances, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is really important because there is, Paul writes that Jesus took captives captive. And so what did Jesus do with these righteous that he had set free from the underworld? We get a little bit of clue from this when we see one of the accounts of the resurrection story, when Jesus appears to Mary and she doesn't recognize him. She thinks he's the gardener.
Yeah.
She thinks Jesus is a farmer. And there's all kinds of reasons why she wouldn't recognize him. But the interesting thing is, he says, don't touch me.
I have not yet ascended to the Father.
I have not yet been to the Father. Now, the interesting thing about this is, while he's there are these Old Testament figures popping up in the city.
Yeah. Could you imagine, Moses was down at Starbucks this morning, man.
Wasn't Samuel?
I know.
Didn't Samuel appear?
Well, I don't remember. I know Moses and Elijah. I know that much.
Yeah.
But anyway, so here's how Robert Morris describes this.
Oh, yeah.
I love his account of this. He says, so Jesus dies. He goes to the underworld. He gets the keys back from Satan. And he says, dominion is mine now. He sets the righteous free, and he says, come on with me. I'm going to take you to the Father. This is where you're going to spend eternity.
Yeah.
But on the way, I got to make a little pit stop.
Yeah.
I got to exactly. So you guys just go occupy yourselves, go hang around.
Go see what they've developed around here.
Go kind of walk around your old stomping grounds for a minute. And I'm like, I got to go over here to Mary. And it's like, don't touch me, because I haven't received my glorified body yet. I got to, I'll be back, And so then he goes and rounds everybody up and says, okay, come on with me. Yep. And they all go to the Father. And then Jesus rises again from the dead and appears in his glorified body. What do you think about that?
That's pretty wild. That's some real Walking Dead right there.
It really is.
He's like, Moses, quit wandering the forest, man. Exactly. Get over here.
Stop bothering those people.
Moses, I get you didn't get to come over the first time. Yeah, you can check out the Holy Land later.
This is going to be better anyway. Yeah. So, whatever Jesus did there. It says here that Several works from the Second Temple period elaborate the concept of Sheol, dividing into sections based on the righteousness or unrighteousness of those who die. Here's a couple of the scriptures. Matthew 12:40. For just as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the sea monster, so for 3 days and 3 nights the Son of Man will be in the heart of the earth. Heart of the earth, that's just symbolic for the underworld. What's under the... Okay, so Matthew 27:50, Jesus cried out again with a loud voice, yielded up his spirit. Then behold, the veil of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth quaked, and the rocks were split, and graves were opened. And many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised, and coming out of the graves after his resurrection, they went into the holy city and appeared to many. So when the centurion and those with him saw the earthquake and the things that happened, they said, truly, this was the Son of God. So that's this. And then Ephesians 4:9, in saying he ascended, what does it mean? But that he also descended into the lower regions, into the earth. 1 Peter 3, he was put to death in the flesh, but made alive in the spirit, in which also he went and made a proclamation to the spirits in prison. 1 Peter 4, for this is the reason the gospel was proclaimed even to the dead. So that, though they had been judged in the flesh, as everyone is judged, they might live in the spirit as God does. So in this kind of scenario, he's preaching the gospel to the righteous. It's like, hey, the gospel has come. Yeah, interesting. So
that would almost kind of defeat the idea of second chances, because he's preaching to the ones that have already accepted him. He's not having to give them another chance.
No, he's just telling them, hey.
So then he could just be, like you said, just proclaiming, like, here it is. It is done,
Well, and also, if you are a victorious country, so like your side wins. Not everybody that you just conquered knows that they've been freed. You go to them, you send envoys and soldiers and troops, and say, go into town and let them know they're not under that oppressive government anymore. And I think that's kind of what's happening here. So now we get the final event before Easter Sunday. It's the Easter Vigil. Have you ever participated in an Easter Vigil?
I have not.
What about you?
It sounds so familiar.
It does to me too, but I know I've never done this.
That a candlelight thing?
It's kind of yes, kind of no. It seems like I've heard about this, but this is a big deal in some areas of the world. Like this is like the culmination of the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah. It's sometimes called the Paschal Vigil, but it starts at midnight, and it goes for 3 hours.
I don't know. I have not ever done this.
I have not either. But I've always I guess I kind of known that Catholics do midnight mass.
I may have done it by accident.
It may not have been so holy.
Right, but, it's just up at that time.
So it is considered to be the first celebration of Easter.
Okay.
And so, because in Jewish culture, they started the day at sunset.
Yeah.
So Easter Vigil services. Okay, so here's some of the traditions. In the Roman Catholic tradition, the vigil has 4 parts. The celebration of lights focused on the Paschal candle. So in other words, like you covered up the candle and took it out at the tenebrae. Now you start with one candle. It's the first ray of hope.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the Paschal, the Jesus candle. Yeah. Then there is the service of lessons called the prophecies, the administration of the sacraments of baptism and confirmation to adult converts, and the Easter Mass.
So do you bring more candles in each time?
Well, apparently it starts out very small, and then I don't know if maybe they bring in more candles, maybe they just turn all the lights on.
Gotcha. So it's the opposite of the tenebrae. Tenebrae.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So really, in and of itself, the Easter Vigil is that. You gather, you have your candle and your proclamations, and then you have the Mass, which is their church service.
Gotcha.
So if we do this in the Protestant tradition, we would gather, we would light the candle, and then everything would just start to come to life. And we would have a church service, a worship service. Okay, this is actually where the sunrise service came from.
That's what I was just going to say. It sounds a lot similar to sunrise service.
But if you're doing an Easter vigil, it's going to end at 3 a.m. You're going to go home. You're going to come back for the Easter service.
Yeah.
Or if you're in this tradition, you just have the Easter Mass at 3 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock or whenever it happens, and that's your Easter Sunday.
So our Easter challenge to people is come do the Easter vigil, then sunrise service, then early service, then next service,
and then take a long nap.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Yeah,
but that's where kind of the sunrise service idea went to. So let's not meet at midnight. Mm-hmm. Let's meet while it's still dark.
Right.
Yeah,
and then we'll have the service as the sun rises.
Let the sun do the right. Yeah.
And then
that's pretty neat.
But here's the final thing about the Easter Vigil is in the early Christian times, this was the time when you got baptized and confirmed and baptized. Mm-hmm. So you've been working on this becoming a Christian thing for a year now.
Yeah.
And you can imagine, also, okay, so you think about this. You say, well, why did it take a year? They had to, like, if you were a Gentile, basically raised in a very pagan culture, there's a long decontamination process. Mm-hmm. You got to kind of come out of whatever kind of goddess, idol worship stuff. And you had to be, reoriented, retrained, which included then rejecting your sacred texts and your creation story and everything. And you have to, start at the very beginning. You don't even know what the Old Testament says. You don't know
from scratch.
Yeah. And so they wanted to make sure that if you made this commitment, it was going to take. It was going to stick.
Yeah.
And so you think about this, and they start this process maybe, I don't know, January, February, whenever they started, and they're working through all of this material this whole time, and then then all of a sudden, it's Ash Wednesday, and you would consider it a privilege to put on the hood and the robe, have the ashes dumped on your head, walk through the streets, go, hey, this is what I'm about to do, because I believe in Jesus.
Yeah.
And then you go through Lent, and then you go through the, all the stuff, and you're proud of yourself because you know what,
what's coming.
Yeah. You know what Palm Sunday really means, and you know Maundy Thursday and the whole thing. And now here it is, you're at the Easter Vigil, and now it's your time.
Yep.
The lights have all come on. It's Jesus' resurrection celebration, and you get to get baptized in your white robe. That's pretty cool.
It is.
I bet that's super powerful.
Oh my gosh!
You know what I mean?
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I just felt like I'm not saying that we should necessarily. Let's go back and do everything. The whole big. But I'm almost thinking of ways. It's like, how can we kind of capture some of that?
Yeah. Well, that's what I said. I think it'd be cool to implement some elements of it. Just leave out the foot washing. But there is some stuff. I think
maybe we could turn it into a butt washing service. That would be the hot cross buns and the foot washing all
combined.
Yeah. And what needs washing more than that?
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, that makes sense. You were butt dust.
That's
so
all I'm talking
there you
about.
go. Going to wash
You
the
got
butt
some
dust
butt
out.
dust.
Yeah, let's fix that.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
I love that.
But I really like the idea of all these things that had such a long build up rather than just, today I feel like it's Good Friday and it's Easter.
Yeah,
and it's like boom, boom.
I know.
And it's here and there, like gone.
Well, we talk about this quite often. It's because most people have a church life and a personal life.
Yeah.
And when these things become one, it's a lot easier to stay on track and stay devoted to these things.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that people can't, have personal vacations and things like that. But if you are a different person outside of church than you are in church, it makes following things a lot harder.
Yeah.
Because you got to be a certain person at a certain time.
That would be exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really would. And I guess that's kind of my challenge to all of us is, going through rituals doesn't really do anything.
No.
I'm not saying, hey man, we need to let's get some woodworkers in there and let's put up the 14 stations of the cross. Let's do it like it used to be done.
Yeah.
Some of these are really kind of traditions of man that were meaningful at one time, but maybe not as much anymore. as I was reading through all these things, I thought, man, there is so much that we sort of skim over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, Spy Wednesday.
I mean,
why don't we focus on that?
See, that's what I was going to say. Like, that would be so cool if we just kind of put that in a Rolodex. And, like, every year it's like, all right, we need to put this focus on this just to bring the awareness back.
I know. And I guess my tradition, I think it's one of the reasons why I kind of feel this way is because my tradition was just super shallow.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't really pay attention to Good Friday because that was for Catholics, you know. Catholics, you know. And we certainly didn't do anything on Saturday. And then, you know, you get up on Easter Sunday morning, you sing, you know, He lives and up from the grave He arose, and you know, and then you have some ham, and boy, there you go.
Yeah.
Go out and hunt some Easter eggs, and you're done.
That is.
And I just think there's, you know, I think in sort of treating it that way, we deprive ourselves of the depth of the realization of what Jesus really did.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm sort of, you know, sort of searching for.
Yeah.
How do I feel that more? How do I, you know, experience that more?
Well, that's why I wrote down, like I said, next week challenges to say that crucify him.
Crucify.
That does, because I've honestly never said, I
did a really deep study on the 3 days, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or I guess technically it'd be the Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The trials and the crucifixion and that day that he spent descended, like, because there's not a lot of scripture on it, you know. So like you have to put a lot of pieces together, and then when you start thinking about everything that Jesus went through and did and accomplished to the T, you know, from the Old Testament, and then on this side of the resurrection, people still didn't believe.
Yeah.
Like it is very easy to see why people struggle so hard today.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like people today that are like, God, if you would just give me a sign, then I'd believe. And it's like, dude, there's signs everywhere.
Dude, we literally talked about this Thursday. We were talking about God's will, and someone said, sometimes I just need the neon flashing light. And I said, well, here's the thing. Is God gives you signs all the time.
Yeah.
But the closer you grow to God and you get to know Him more, the more you can read His signs.
Yeah.
You know, the more you can pick up, that's a sign from God. That is from God.
Well, and also, I'm telling you too, sometimes you got to make your own sign.
Man, what you said.
And I mean it this way because, you know, I will guarantee you, if you are truly hungry, if you are truly seeking, and you haven't just shut all this stuff off and said, nah, I'm going to do my own thing. If you engage yourself in these things, and if you engage yourself in the community who is serious about doing this stuff, you will not wonder which way you're supposed to go.
Yeah.
You have, you know, God's written word, God's spoken word through His people. You have a community that is there with wisdom, and you won't need that flashing sign. You make your own sign.
I've heard this one before too. It's like, well, how do I know that's God telling me to go pray with this person? How do I know it's just not, you know, some influence inside my head? And I was like, well, you got two influences. You got God and the rest of the world.
Yeah.
The rest of the world, and especially Satan, is not going to tell you to go pray with somebody.
Process of elimination, dude.
Yeah, I mean, exactly Satan is not going to tell you to do these holy things.
Yeah. That makes me think of the old joke where the dude is on top of the house.
I know.
Flood.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, the boat comes by, and it's like, hey, man, come on, get in here.
God's going to save me.
Yeah, God's going to save me. Then, like, the helicopter comes by. Hey, come on, get in here. Oh, God's going to save me. Then what? I think he dies, gets to heaven. He's like, God, you didn't save me. He's like, I sent a boat and a helicopter.
Man, I stole this from Robert Morris when I was teaching Sunday school. I went and got a bunch of fishing lures.
Yeah.
And passed them out to the class. And I said, next time that you say that you will only go do it when you feel led, keep this in your pocket. And just reach in and feel led, because it's only God that's going to tell you to go do these things. Satan is not going to tell you to go do something in your church. He's not going to tell you to go pray with someone. He's not going to tell you to pour out compassion on someone. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So when you feel that's God.
Yeah.
I agree. And so we're going to close with this. Easter Sunday, Easter is not over.
Okay.
It's the start of Eastertide.
Eastertide? Is this all up to Pentecost?
Yes, it is.
Oh, nailed it. Gold star for Pat.
Yes. It's the time between Easter Sunday and Pentecost, typically about 50 days.
50 days, yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
Man, see, more long celebration.
I know. And it's interesting because there's not necessarily just 1 or 2 or 10 things you do during Eastertide, but there's a spirit about Eastertide that that sort of permeates the whole thing. And if you were to look in like the lectionaries and stuff like that, these are the kinds of scriptures. It's a commitment. It's just like Jesus told the disciples, go and do this thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that is done the day after Easter Sunday, so Easter Monday,
Okay.
is something called clipping the church.
Clipping the church.
Yeah, I just discovered this. And I thought
I
want to
be a part of that.
Clipping the church. It is derived from the word clip-on, meaning embrace or clasp. So what happens is they do their big Easter Sunday celebration, and they all come back on Monday, or the faithful do, and this, what happens here is the whole church congregation makes a circle in the sanctuary of the church, holding hands, inward facing. And then they, at a particular time, they say certain kind of prayers and sing a couple of songs, things like that. And then on the signal, they all about face, rejoin hands, and look outward and make and sing songs and read scriptures of commitment to reach the world.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
How about that?
We need to get on that.
Clipping the church.
I think that would be cool.
That's neat.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yep.
But then there are other ways to kind of I guess you could say observe or pay attention to Eastertide. There is something called Divine Mercy Sunday. It's also called Low Sunday. Of course, we have Ascension Sunday. These weird things. Rogation Sunday.
Rogation.
Rogaine?
Yeah. I think Joe shows up. So anyway, there's a few other liturgical kinds of things that you do along the way, but ultimately it culminates in the day of Pentecost.
Yeah.
Where we
That's cool.
celebrate the Holy Spirit.
I mean, that makes sense. Penta means 50.
Yes, it
Cost
does.
days.
That's
So
true. There you go.
now you know next year what you will be doing from February 1 until June 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Easter. It's all
Yeah.
about Easter.
Yeah.
I mean, and how cool would that be
Only
if you
about half a
didn't
year.
recognize it that much?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, maybe it would be tedious. Maybe it would be exhausting. Maybe it would be just meaningless. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I mean,
I don't think it would hurt. And even if it just made you, like I say, even if you didn't get ritualistic with it, but you just actually just put it in your mind to recognize it, recognize Easter, recognize what Jesus did, like recognize all these things every day. Man, what a difference it make.
most of us are
Absolutely.
coming to the church 3 days a week anyway. Most of us are.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Well, I mean,
let's do it.
the funny thing is, and there's all kinds of ways. It gives me all kinds of good ideas too, because there's ways that we could, put out little social media posts, it's like, hey, today, did you know today is Spy Wednesday?
Yeah.
And just talk about that. And then maybe even, what would be really cool is to put out a recommended playlist for each one of these little things.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, here's your Spy Wednesday playlist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's your Black Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep. Now,
that'd be awesome.
I was kind of curious before we wrap up. What are your thoughts on the movie The Passion?
Oh man, I saw it in the theater when it came out.
Yeah.
And it was very dramatic.
Yeah.
It was high impact on me. I don't even remember how old I was, but I remember wanting to go see it. I didn't really want to see it, but I knew I needed to. And I know that not everything is correct. I know it is, very Catholic in its theology, and there's all kinds of controversy surrounding it and all this kind of stuff. I don't even care about this stuff.
Yeah, I know.
It put in front of my eyes.
It was a visceral image
at the scene.
Yep.
In such a way that it was mind blowing.
That's what it did for me. I remember. I think we saw it in theaters, and actually, I remember somebody that went with our church got saved immediately.
Wow!
Like he actually got saved after the movie.
That is amazing.
Because that was for me. Like I'm a visual guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so
you put all that music and all the special effects with it. It's like
Well, and you don't, man. To me, I didn't grasp the beating that he took.
Yeah.
I probably watch that film once every couple years, just as a reminder, because like we read and we talk about everything Jesus went through, but when you see it, like it makes it real.
It does.
You know what I mean?
Does.
It makes it more tangible, and it makes you a lot more thankful and a lot more humble.
Are you sure that guy got saved? Because that was incorrect theology.
Well, another good quote that I like is, "Good theology will not save anybody."
That's right. Bad theology will wreck you.
But bad theology will cause a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Yes, you are right about that.
But I am going to be watching that. I got to watch that again. I hadn't watched that in years.
I hadn't either.
I think it's free on Prime.
I think I have the DVD.
I do as well.
So we got to watch The Passion and we got to watch Risen.
Risen? Yeah, I was going to ask if y'all watched it.
I still haven't seen that yet. Yeah.
You will.
I think y'all like it's Netflix, right?
I don't remember.
One of them. I'll find it.
It's on something.
I purchased Netflix, so I'm a Netflix user again.
So, we need you all to weigh in on this. And honestly, I mean, one of the reasons why we wanted to do this kind of thing is so that we will just know, it's like, this is what goes on in the world at this time of year.
Yeah.
And this is stuff that we don't typically, participate in, but I think that elements of it or the underlying nature of it could really bring this alive for us.
Yeah.
So let us know, some of your thoughts and feelings and ideas about some of these observances and how we could, how we could incorporate those in a fresh way, in a relevant way. Well, we don't want to go backwards or anything, but I think there's so much more we can do.
I do too.
So let's explore this all together. Let's see.
And also, 10 points for whoever can make the best hot cross buns.
Absolutely. Yes, that's exactly right.
We got to have those.
Guys, y'all hit that like button.
Do it.
Hit subscribe. And do it. Comment below. Comment below. We want to hear from y'all. And guess we'll catch you next week.
Yeah, we're going to get into some really interesting content. We're going to talk about some of the arguments against the physical resurrection of Jesus and why the physical resurrection of Jesus is one of the most provable, documentable events in natural, physical, earthly human history.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
And the next episode will wrap up our Easter set. Yeah.
That's because it's going to be Easter.
That's right. Yeah.
So you want to tune in for that one, and I hope that you are kind of making progress in your Lent journeys, in your just anticipation. We got Palm Sunday coming up. We're going to be right into Holy Week. And, you want to be ready for Clean Monday.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's right.
All right, hit the buttons. Do the thing.
See you guys.
Bye.